Let's bring in one of the three men that called the game on ABC, Channel 7 here in New York, and that is Jeff Van Gundy. Jeff, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys today?
We're doing all right. Have you seen many teams play better than the Spurs played for the first quarter and a half?
No, they were tremendous. I mean, the amount of ball movement they had, the shot making, the passing, the basketball IQ was off the charts. They were phenomenal offensively.
See, I'd be worried if I were Miami. They hadn't lost a game at home all year, and to get schooled like that, especially in the first three quarters, do you think Miami should be worried?
Well, I think they should have been worried before the game.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, this is a great San Antonio team. It's not a good team. It's a great team. To me, they have a better team than Miami. Now, Miami can counter that if they can ratchet up their defense and rely, again, on the greatness of James and Bosh and Wade. But they're going to need both. They're going to need incredible defensive passion and intensity and activity, and they need the big three to come through better than they did last night.
Now, when I watch a team shoot 90% in the first quarter, I don't know how to evaluate it, Jeff. Is it because they were on fire, or was the Heat's defense deficient?
Both. Listen, they played incredible offense, and yet at the end of the day, you run good offense, and you still got to have great shot making, and that's what they had. But Miami's going to go back and look at the film, as I'm sure they already have, and look at some areas that they have to do better and can do better. They're not a big team, so they have to play with exceptional activity, discipline, and intensity. And to do that, they have to do that at all five positions because they don't have shot blocking at the rim. They're not a big team, so they're going to have to do it with quickness and speed, discipline, and passion.
What do you think the big difference is between this Heat team and the one last year?
Well, I just don't think they're as good. I think they have very few guys in their prime, age-wise or health-wise. I think they lost some shooting, and Mike Miller, I thought Mike Miller had a big impact on the series last year. And they ultimately had home court advantage last year, where they pulled out two narrow victories in Game 6 and 7. So I think enough has changed, and I think San Antonio's a little bit better. I think they're a little healthier. I think Ginobili's playing better. I think Danny Green has diversified his game. So I think Miami slipped a little bit. San Antonio's improved a little bit. And that doesn't mean by any stretch that Miami can't win this series, because when you put the best player out on the floor each night in LeBron James, he can do what he did in Game 2, which is put on a display that's hard to overcome.
It almost seems that the new CBA and the NBA, Jeff, kind of dictates that a team like Miami can't be that deep. If you're going to have three guys that make close to the max, everybody else has to be marginalized players that are making very little money. And it seems like the Spurs, they don't really pay superstar money. Tim Duncan is taking a lot less, so they could have better players throughout the roster. You think that's an accurate assessment?
Well, I think it is an assessment. I think San Antonio is one of the few teams that has ever been able to convince their best players to take less than their market value because they value playing there so much. And so they have done a great job of identifying and developing younger players like Kawhi Leonard, like Danny Green. This has been tremendous. It starts from the top with great ownership. I think their management team, led by R.C. Buford, doesn't get enough credit for picking the right players. And then their coaching staff has done a great job of developing those players to maximize the talent at hand.
Is this a must-win in Game 4, especially when you consider it's going back to San Antonio for a Game 5 for Miami?
I always find it that you have to try to build in your team the same urgency coming off a win as coming off a loss, but it's hard to do. I think San Antonio has to feel like it's a must-win. But that, again, is hard to do from a from a standpoint they're coming off a win. So I would say for Miami, absolutely. You never want to say must win, but I can't see them losing tomorrow to go down 3-1 and then figuring out how to win twice in San Antonio and once at home to win 3 straight.
This is the first time we've talked to you since it became official. What did you think of the Knicks hiring Derek Fisher?
Well, I think it's very interesting when people either praise it or criticize it, stating like they know.
Right, you have no idea
what's about to come. Right. This is a blank slate. Phil Jackson is doing a totally different job than he's ever done before. Derek Fisher's doing a totally different job than he's done before. He has some of the attributes that you would want in a coach, most certainly. I think a lot of is going to go how he develops as a coach. Does he like coaching? In a year or two, it'd be very interesting to see, is this something you want to invest your life in? Because a lot of how well you do at a job is going to be based on how much you enjoy the job. Because if you enjoy something, obviously you're going to be willingly put more time into it to try to develop the skills necessary to be great at it. So I think there's a lot of factors that will go into his level of success. But number one is getting a roster that can win. And he is in a dependent position. And to get those players that he needs to win, Phil Jackson and his staff is going to have to draft well, trade well, and sign the right free agents.
Now, Jeff, I know we've kind of casually asked you about the Kings and the Rangers series. I know you're kind of watching from afar, but as a former coach, you know, we in the media will try to read the players, and the Rangers look so defeated after Game 3. They haven't gotten any bounces. They've mentioned that, but they just look like a beaten, depressed team. Is it fair to judge how they'll come out in Game 4, how they address the media, and how they dealt with a Game 3 loss?
That's a very delicate situation because I've found that your mood as a team can change from the time you leave the locker room to the pregame warm-up or pregame skate. I think this is coming back to New York. I think they win tonight. They win in L.A. I don't know if they're going to win the series, but I think they'll get it back to New York.
Now, I've been reading on the Internet, Jeff, that there was, I don't know if it was a press conference or just a gathering of people to honor the late Dr. Jack Ramsey. What was that about, and what was it like? Because I know you're coming from there now.
Well, we just left, and Hubie Brown gave one of the most eloquent expressions of gratitude as far as friendship, professional, how he looked at respect for, Dr. Jack. It was mesmerizing. I think we all would want to have a friend like Hubie Brown was to Dr. Jack and Dr. Jack was to Hubie. I think a lot of your younger listeners probably don't realize the impact that Jack Ramsey had on the game. What a great coach he was, both at St. Joseph, with Portland, also the Buffalo Braves. He was a tremendous basketball coach. But I remember him from when he used to do ESPN radio and Miami Heat television. And even when we were in this big rivalry with Miami, he would come in and you knew that he wanted you to have success, and he would give tidbits of advice, but also try to bolster your confidence in the dark times. And I was always very appreciative of that.
Great stuff. Thank you, Jeff. We'll be watching Game 4, I guess. Yeah, Game 4. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.